difficulties, but thanks be to God for diligence and perseverance. I am Eugene C. McCowan Jr., and I'm the founder and president of WeSERVE Community Development Corporation here in the town of Dumfries, Virginia. We have been tasked and charged with mitigating food insecurity, providing means for to overcome emotional distress, and to provide and equip individuals with tools to be financially literate post-pandemic, post-COVID, and during the times that we live in today. WeServe's mission is to serve families, meet needs, and build community. And we endeavor to do all of that to equip our communities, to empower our communities, to provoke change in our communities, to make a difference in the communities that we live in. Our reach is for the Dumfries and the Northern Virginia area, but with social media, we're able to reach out to areas that are far past the areas that we actually can touch, and we're grateful for the opportunity to serve those that are in need. We have partnered with an entity called Healing Hearts to Heal, which is led by Ms. Ayana Meeks. She is a clinical psychologist or something to the counselor to that extent. She'll provide her background and her necessary background about her gifting and anointing. And so we're grateful for Ms. Ayana Meeks and Healing Hearts to Heal, who is helping us with personal development, how to overcome emotional distress, and the like. So let me turn it over into her hands as we get going. Let me start her PowerPoint. And we're grateful for you all taking time out to join us. We want to encourage you to like and share. Someone will be strengthened and encouraged by this mental health awareness, personal development recap. Ms. Meeks, we're now in your hands.
Thank you so much, Pastor McCowan. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. As Pastor McCowan said, I am the founder and CEO of Healing Hearts to Heal. And so I currently hold a master's degree in educational counseling. I currently hold a position as school counselor at the middle school level. And so I've had that position. I've been in that position for about 8 to 9 years. And so I'm so grateful to be able to share this information and the little bit of knowledge that I do have, and so grateful to be here to share. All right, so we have quite a bit to dig in this morning. And as Pastor McCowan said, this is actually a recap. So I've had the privilege and the honor to work with WeSERVE Cares. Beginning in November was my very first session, and that was on understanding mental health. And we're still talking about understanding mental health, but we're going to recap session 1, session 2, and session 3 on today. So those of you who have been able to watch all 3 sessions, hopefully this recap is going to spark some new knowledge, maybe some things you missed. And then for those of you who have not joined in those sessions, hopefully you gain something today and go back and watch the previous sessions. Okay, so let's go ahead and review. So as I stated, our session 1, we talked about understanding mental health. Session 2, we talked about rational thinking, making good decisions. And then session 3, we talked about managing difficult decisions. Okay. So in session 1, we simply just asked the question, what is mental health? Excuse me. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is our CDC, they give the definition: mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. Okay. It also helps determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and make healthy choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Okay. So everyone has mental health, but not everyone receives a diagnosis involving a mental illness. Mental health includes your overall well-being. Mental illnesses, are diagnosable mental health conditions. So just a keynote here, just because your mental health isn't in great shape doesn't always mean you have a mental illness. And just because you live with a mental illness doesn't necessarily mean your mental health is currently in a bad place. Okay. All right. So let's look at mental illness. Okay. It is also called mental health conditions or mental disorders. And they are diagnosable conditions. They often involve a highly distressing change in your thinking, your emotions, or behaviors, and can affect how you perform daily activities. Okay. So, according to Healthline.com, in 2019, 1 in 8 people worldwide lived with a mental health condition. Depression and anxiety disorder were the most common. And then others may include, and we do have a list that you can see there, bipolar disorder, substance use disorder, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, eating disorder, post traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, neurodevelopment disorders like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is we know as ADHD, and autism spectrum disorder. And then you have personality disorder. So those, the list is huge, but again, most what we will see and deal with is depression and anxiety. Okay. And I see that a lot in working in our school system. All right. So, while mental illness is still known and used, many people prefer to use mental health condition. Okay, so in this slide, we're talking about why language matters. Okay, this helps us separate further from stigmatizing phrases like mentally ill. But the terms mental illness and mental disorders are still used widely, and opinions differ on how acceptable they are. So, most communities do suggest avoiding terms such as mentally disabled or handicapped, mentally ill, crazy, insane, nuts, or psycho. So, you may ask, what do I say? Instead of saying someone is mentally ill, say that person is living with a mental health condition. Okay. So, what is mental health? According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, mental health includes your social, emotional, and psychological well being. It's more than simply the absence of mental illness. Okay. Mental health is complex, and your mental health will be unique to you. Not everybody's mental health is the same or looks the same. Okay. What looks like good mental health for one person won't be the same for someone else. There's a note. You can have good mental health while living with a mental health condition. Okay. So remember that mental health is health. It is just as important as your physical health and is an important part of your overall well being. All right, so there are 3 components to mental health. You have your cognitive health, which is all of your cognitive functioning in your brain, your mind. Then you have your emotional health, that's your inward health, your heart, your emotions. Okay. And then you have your behavioral health. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those. All right. So, cognitive health. Okay, that's the ability to clearly think, learn, and remember. It is an important component of performing everyday activities. So, what is that going to look like? How do you maintain your cognitive health? And again, this is just a recap, guys. All right. So, how do we maintain that? You're going to be eating healthy foods. Okay. Um, During the pandemic, some of us dealt with weight gain, and because we were stuck in the house and didn't know what was going on, and then post COVID, we're still dealing with some of those things. Don't know, lots going on in the world, and a lot is happening, and so a lot of times when we're in depression and we're in anxiety stages, we begin to not take care of ourselves, and so Some of the things that we tend to do is eat bad. We buy more junk food. We engage in more bad habits. And so, how do we maintain good cognitive health? And so, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, um, making sure you get your 8 hours, managing your stress, staying connected with social activities or staying connected with people, and then learning a new skill. Keep your mind active, okay? Learning something new, all right? Okay. Emotional health. When we're talking about our emotional health, what does this mean? This means you are aware of your emotions. You can deal with them whether they are positive or negative. Emotionally healthy people still feel stress, they still get angry, they still feel sadness, but they know how to manage their negative feelings. Okay. They can tell when a problem is more than they can handle on their own. And so they also know when to go seek help from a doctor. That's being emotionally healthy, being able to recognize where you are in your emotions and knowing that it's okay to say, I'm not okay. It's all right to say, I'm not okay. A lot of times we feel like we have to always have it together. We have to always put on a good face. We have to always show up happy. Well, you're not going to always feel that way. And so, recognizing where you are and recognizing when it's beyond the point that you can manage and saying, hey, let me go talk to my doctor. Let me go get some help. Okay. How do we maintain our emotional health? A few things here. Some of these are going to overlap. So, being aware of your emotions and your reactions, okay? Express your feelings in appropriate ways. Don't bottle things up, okay? A lot of times we're told, don't cry, wipe your tears, and yeah, eventually, but don't be afraid to be in those emotions, but also being able to express those emotions. You don't want to bottle things up. Find a trusted person you can talk to. Go get therapy. Being able to process those emotions. Express your feelings again in appropriate ways. Think before you act. Okay. You don't want to make a decision or a reaction that you'll regret later. Okay. Again, managing your stress. Strive for balance between work and play. Make time for fun. I think a lot of times, especially as we become adults, we don't make time for that. We don't know how to balance between working, spending time with our families, having some self care time when it's just us. So, all of those things are going to be important. Find purpose and meaning. So, focus on what's important to you. Okay. Stay positive. And I love this piece forgive yourself and others. A lot of times we have made mistakes, um, and we can stay there. We can stay in those mistakes. We can wallow in it. But you have to get to a place where you forgive yourself. We now know we can make better choices and then forgive others. Because when we don't forgive, it puts us in a prison. And the only person in that prison is us. The other person is living life and doing whatever it is they're going to be doing. And then we're stuck in this place. And so all of that is part of our emotional health. Okay. Then lastly, we have behavioral health. And that includes the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well being. So, possessing the ability to self regulate really is all under behavioral health. And so, just three tips here, helpful tips. Maintaining open communication. You have to learn how to communicate. Okay, we must learn how to communicate. All right. Learning how to calm ourselves when we become upset. Okay, learning how to calm ourselves when we become upset. What does that look like? Going for a walk, taking some space away from the person or the situation that's causing you to become upset. We also can view challenges as opportunities. Okay. Those are opportunities for us to look at the situation from a different perspective. That's why it's good to process with somebody. when you're going through it, when you're in a space where you are facing a challenge and being able to process that with somebody. Okay. All right. So, mental health resources here, these are available to you. We have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We also have the online crisis chat. Then we also have the crisis text line. I give this number out to students at my schools all the time. It is simple. They text home to the number 741-741, and there's somebody on that line 24 hours of the day to talk to you. Okay. And then also I put the apa.org website there for those who may want more resources. Okay. All right. So as we were wrapping up, finished our session two, finished our session two. We began to move into finished session one, and now we're moving into session two, which is what is rational thinking. Okay. And again, that also includes our mental health. All right. So, what is rational thinking? Okay. Decisions are based on reason rather than emotions. Okay. Reason means the power of the mind to think, understand, and form judgments by process of logic. Okay? Logic is a method of reasoning that involves a series of statements, each of which must be true if the statement before it is true. Okay, so let me say that again. Logic is a method of reasoning that involves a series of statements, each of which must be true if the statement before it is true. Okay? So these are just a few diagrams that shows the three states of mind, and I just put it in two different ways of looking at the diagram, just because I know our minds process different. So you have emotional mind, you have the reasonable mind, and then you have the wise mind. Okay, and so you can see all on the screen that under our emotions control how you act and react. The majority of the time, your thoughts are all over the place and you can't focus. Your behavior and even your personality seems to change with your emotions. Overwhelmed by strong emotions, we can become overwhelmed. You get upset by your emotions and feelings, strong intuition and gut feelings, and lots of empathy and compassion. All right. Then you have the reasonable mind. Okay. That's going to include rational thinking based on facts with no thought to anything else. Seeing situations from a removed point of view, which is disassociating, keeping eerily calm while dealing with problems most people would be upset by, seeing a situation from all sides. There are some pros and cons to reasonable mind. Okay, thinking about cause and effect. Okay, then you have the wise mind, making decisions from a place of both feelings and logic, feeling grounded, incorporating intuition, examining automatic learned behaviors. Also allows for good boundaries, doing what is for your highest good on all levels. And then when you're using a wise mind, you're doing what feels good for the big picture. And then you're slowing down and resisting the urge to be impulsive, right? To be impulsive in your behaviors, okay? And that other diagram kind of shows that same thing. Okay. All right. So there are two competing thought processes that drive decisions. And so we just talked about that, logic and emotions. Although the two can occasionally be intertwined, deciphering whether your choices are made by logic or emotions can be an important part of ensuring that you're making the best decision for your long term satisfaction. Okay. So, according to Psychology Today, most decisions are driven by emotions. Even though most people think that they approach decision making through logic, emotions are powerful. But logic, the ability to make decisions using sound and rational thought processes, is something that may be missing from your life. Okay? So that's something you need to ask yourself. Am I more emotional when making decisions, or am I more of a logical or rational thinker? All right, so let's examine and look at both logic and emotions. So, logic is by default a method of making decisions that uses sound and rational decision making to find the best conclusion. Emotions, on the other hand, are true feelings. If logic is the brain, emotion is the heart, and the heart is where happiness is. Okay? So, again, logic and emotion. Okay? This requires emotion. Logic cannot always be completed without emotion, especially with regards to decisions that affect life satisfaction. After all, relationships, jobs, and other major decisions are not always just pen and paper decisions. For example, logically, a partner may look great on paper, but they do not create feelings of love and excitement. If so, they may not be the right partner. Logic also requires energy. Logic isn't always a simple process. The amount of mental and physical energy that goes into a logical decision may be more than the time and attention allows. Making a logical conclusion quickly, for example, really can be very difficult. Okay? Then we have our emotions. Okay? One thing, emotions can lie. How you feel may not actually be what is best for you or what your heart really wants. For example, many former partners, after they break up, feel like they miss their relationship. Some may even give in and get back together. But this can be a mistake, as missing someone, an emotion, is common after any relationship simply because a part of your life has changed. Okay. Emotions also may be irrational. By default, emotions aren't controlled by logic. Thus, you can have emotions that are completely irrational given the situation. Anxiety and depression are examples of extreme versions of this problem. Okay. All right. In addition, emotions can change the way you think and control behavior, which may mean that your logic may be affected by your emotions. This happens often to those struggling with mental health conditions like depression and anxiety, where their emotions make them think in illogical ways. I hope we're getting this, guys. So, which is better? Okay. In many ways, logic is better than emotion. The more you can think critically and objectively about a decision before you make it, the more likely the decision will be the best for you. The less you are driven only by emotion and instinct, the fewer impulsive or irrational decisions you should make. Okay? But you also shouldn't be without emotion. Emotion still plays a significant role in decision making, including logical decision making. Love and embrace your emotions, but have a strong sense of logic as well. There's a balance, guys. There's a balance. All right. So, some helpful tips when you can't make decisions or rational decisions. These are just some helpful tips. Okay, limit your choices. We can get frustrated when we go to a fast food restaurant and there's 30 things on the menu or 40 things on the menu. That's just too much, right? Some people can get really overwhelmed. So we can just limit our choices, okay? Even when you're making a decision, all right? Also, you can make a plan, okay? Plan it out. Pros and cons, okay, to this decision, all right? Also, you can implement a decision making model. Okay, we've seen some of those. Those of you who are in business or um, have been in entities where they use a decision making model or a tree, rather. If I make this decision, what are the consequences for it, right? Also, be careful of impulsive decisions. Okay, those can be very detrimental when we just make an impulsive, like those who are impulsive shoppers. Okay, the next thing you know, you've spent your rent money. Next thing you know, um, you can't pay your bills, or your kids need things, and now you done spent all the money because we were just impulsive in what we were doing and buying. Okay, all right. So then the last thing is seek support in decision making. I talked a little bit about that. Connecting with somebody who can process that with you, that can sit down and ask you questions that you may not have even thought about, right? Okay. So making sure that we're doing that, guys. All right. So, session 3, we talked about managing difficult situations. So far, we've talked about our whole entire mental health, where we are mentally, um, talked about how to keep ourselves healthy in our minds. And then we begin to talk about um, how we go about thinking rationally. How do we go about keeping our minds and our emotions and our cognitive health and our behavioral health in check? Because at the end of the day, it's going to affect how we make or how we even manage difficult situations. Okay, how do we um, keep ourselves mentally healthy so that we can think rationally? And so when these situations come up, when we are beginning to deal with difficult situations, then how do we how do we incorporate all of those together? And so that's what these sessions we're talking about is how do we incorporate all of these pieces together? Okay. So now we're here in session 3 and we're discussing managing difficult situations. Okay. And so, what does difficult even mean? Okay. So, needing much effort or skill to accomplish, deal with, or understand, characterized by or causing hardships or problems of a person, not easy to please or satisfy. Okay. This diagram shows it. We can be disoriented, we could be bewildered. Situations will have us perplexed, unclear about what direction we need to go in. We can be unsure, confused, lost. All of these emotions, and some of us can say we feel like that today with so much happening and so much going on. That we're dealing with so much in today's society. And so we're so confused, okay? So, how do we manage these difficult situations when they come up in our lives? Okay. All right. So, difficult situations. Difficult situations are life and professional issues and problems that individuals find demanding and stressful. This can include external factors such as natural disasters, social factors such as arguing with a friend, or personal problems such as a health issue. What I also didn't include, we'll probably go to that in that next slide, but these are just a few difficult situations that we can find ourselves in. Okay, perfect. So, examples of difficult situations: being fired from a job, okay, or being laid off, a separation or a divorce, family stress. Okay, we know what that can kind of look like. In our day and time, as I work in the school system, we have 3 and 4 families living in one house. Families, not just a couple of folks, but you have 3 or 4 families all clumped together. And so that can cause some distress. Okay, that can cause some stress, embarrassment, demanding responsibilities, at home or on your job. Economic issues, collapse. Okay, some of us are seeing that right now. We have all these questions about what is happening in our society right now. How is our economic health looking for the future, right? Discrimination, still dealing with some of those things. We deal with it in our schools, we deal with it in our communities, we deal with it um, on our jobs, in society, we deal with that. Racism, same difference, same thing, still dealing with those issues, unfortunately. Also, friendship issues, harsh criticism, harassment, homelessness, the threat of homelessness, demanding caregiving. Okay, some of us have older parents that we're caring for, or we have siblings. Um, Something has happened, and now they now need 24-hour care, and we can't afford the health care. So you have to have family members who have to step in and help those family members. Okay, mental health issues. We talked about that in the very beginning, not just of yourself, but also of others. Okay. Moral failures, things that we do that bring us shame or guilt and the mistakes that we've made. Okay. Parenting problems. Oh boy, I see that every day when I deal with our children in the school system. Okay. Work issues and financial strains, unable to pay bills. And these are just an example of some of the difficult situations that we can find ourselves in. All right, so steps to assist you in difficult times. Step one, we can realize that your character is formed or revealed most during the tough times. And I kind of wrestled with this one, but I real so one of the key points here is realize that part of what you're going through is about reshaping yourself. You will need to change what isn't working for you, which can ultimately lead to a stronger and more resilient self. Okay? Did you choose this path? Sometimes a difficult situation comes about as a result of your calling, be it faith, career, parenthood, research, or another person's influence in your life. In such a case, remember why you chose the path and take the strength from remembering why it matters to you. So when we say, oh my goodness, I have parenting difficulties or parenting challenges, well, I made the decision to be a parent. And so why did I become a parent? Because I wanted to be a parent. And so now I know that, oh, it comes with all of these different challenges in raising my children. And so but in me dealing with those challenges, it has allowed me to strengthen myself in areas where I've had those challenges and become stronger in those areas. All right, step two, do not give away your agency. So, what is agency? Agency is the sense of control that you feel in your life, your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior, and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks and situations. Your sense of agency helps you to be psychologically stable, yet flexible in the face of conflict or change. It just simply means you have the ability to make your own decisions. You have the ability to have faith in your ability to make those decisions, not giving it over to somebody else to make those decisions for you, right? So that's what we talked about earlier is it's okay to connect with somebody and process that decision making process or make that decision making model to do all of those things, but don't hand over your agency, all of your control to make the decisions. Just say, oh, well, a lot of times we find this in situations of depression and anxiety because it can become overwhelming. And so a lot of times you will see other people step in and begin to make decisions for people because mentally and emotionally they are just not there to do it. Okay. All right. Number three, control what you can, but accept that there is much which cannot be controlled. This is called a circle of um, control. Okay. You have the external things that are really just out of your control. Okay. The circle of influence. Those things are out of your control. Things that happen in your neighborhood, the mood in a room, voting. Those are just some examples. Family stuff, relationships. Okay. When we look at the external threat of nuclear war, we have war, that talk right now going on, foreign policies, political views of strangers, the economy, the weather. These are all things that are outside of our control. But that circle in the middle, the circle of control, what can we control? Our words, our outfit, our food, our posture, the output that we put out, our tone, our mood, our exercise, our thoughts, our location. We can control ourself. That is it. We don't have any control over other people's behaviors, their thoughts, none of those things, the decisions that they make. As much as we want to try to control all of that stuff, we have no control over it. And then you end up finding yourself overwhelmed and stressed out and depressed and anxious and all of these other things that can develop into other health issues. Okay. So focus on what you can control. Okay. Seek equanimity. What is that? Mental calmness. I love this picture. He's just out on this rock in the middle of nowhere. Okay. All right. So, calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. I always tell the kids that I work with, I am not going to escalate with you. I am not going to go from baseline to extremely elevated with you because two people in a room elevated is a disaster. Okay, it's complete and total chaos. All right, so just learning how to be at an even temper, especially when you're dealing with a difficult situation. Okay, because if we get all emotional and elevated, we talked about it in the beginning. There's no room for rational thinking. There's no room for logic. Okay, so, practicing meditation can help you to remain calm in the face of any pressures in life. And then meditation just simply means maybe if you're a faith believer, studying your scriptures, getting into your Bible, taking time to sit with the Word of God, just doing those things that bring you calm. Some people like to just sit in quiet and peace with no noise, just with their thoughts. Some people love to just listen to music, calming music, not nothing that's going to get you all emotionally out of sorts. Okay. All right. Take time out from the difficult situation, whether it's a workout, a quick duck out for a breather. Say you're at work and something gets heated at work. Step outside. Go outside, scream if you have to, uh, take some laps around your building, do the things that you feel can kind of calm you and get you away from the situation. You can also chat with a trusted friend, a family member, or a spiritual leader. Your pastor is a great person to reach out to. Even here at We Serve Cares Praise Center, there's numbers that you can call, and somebody will be get back to you. There's so many resources that you can reach out to. Find ways to distract yourself temporarily so you can rejuvenate yourself. You can get your mind right, your thoughts right. Okay. All right. Step 5. I love this. Look for the silver lining. Hard times can be both creative and inspiring. This may seem an odd way to view what you're going through, but it is certainly a more capable one that allows you to actively seek solutions. So, after a big storm and you're like, oh my goodness, the sky is black, it's pouring, it's thundering, it's lightning, it's all that's going on. And then later after the day, once the storm is over, once it has passed, and the clouds begin to start moving, and you see just this glimmer of the sun shining in the very back. When I look at that, that brings me hope. Like, oh, I'm going to be able to go outside later. Oh, the sun is coming out. Thank goodness. It's going to dry up the rain. It's going to dry up, then I'm going to be able to go outside and the storm has passed. And so that's seeing that silver lining, knowing that the situation that you are in is not going to last forever. At some point, the storm is going to pass and the sun is going to break through and you're going to see that silver lining. Okay. All right. Step 6, get support, guys. Okay. Once again, I love giving out resources. So if you're having, sometimes our situations can also, Pastor McCowan talked about it in his intro, the suicide rate is high, not just amongst older people, but amongst our young people. When I say young people, I'm even talking as low as 5 years old, especially with the issues going on with social media, cyberbullying, things happening on social media. And so here are just some resources here. We have our suicidal our text line, which is 988 in the U.S. And then Canada to reach. There's a number there for Canada when you go to the website. But here in the U.S., the text number is 988. Also, again, there's that crisis line. You text home to 741 741. And again, that is not just for teens, it is for anyone, young and old. Okay. We have Teen Line for youth in need of some support. There's also a text number for that. Boys Town, which is a crisis hotline for girls and boys, they also have a text number there. Thursday's Child, that's a national helpline for teens and young adults. You can reach out to them if you know a teen who is in trouble. And then you have our National Runaway Safe Line. I also gave that information as well. Also, under here, please get help from your doctor. Okay. If you feel, we talked about it in the beginning, if you begin to feel that you're so overwhelmed and beyond what you can handle, that is when you need to reach out and you need to get some help. Okay. Again, we talked about reaching out to your spiritual leaders, your pastors, okay, your church family. Okay, those are good places to go to get some help and get some resources. Okay. 7, okay, understand that um, being fearful of change can hold you back. Okay. Again, return to the thought of looking for the silver lining and try to embrace change. Such a positive approach to change may lead you to coping better and turning what seems difficult around to feeling manageable. You don't have to love what you're going through. Just make it bearable until it becomes your new normal. Okay. And I love this little picture here. It says courage doesn't mean you don't get afraid. Courage means you don't let fear stop you. He is like, listen, this is too chaotic in this bowl. I'm getting ready to go into a whole new situation. Okay. And he's like, I'm just gonna take this leap of faith and I'm gonna just jump in and I'm just gonna have faith that I'm gonna make it into this other bowl and begin my new situation. Okay. So don't be afraid. Don't let fear be the reason that holds you back. Okay. So, surprising benefits of going through difficult times. Okay. This came from UW Health article by Dr. Shalag Murgain. She's a speaker, a writer, facilitator, and a therapist. Dr. Murgain writes, research has found that up to 70% of people experience positive psychological growth from difficult times, such as a deeper sense of self and purpose, a greater appreciation for life and loved ones, and an increased capacity for altruism, which is just the belief in or practice of disinterested and selfless concern for the well being of others. Empathy and desire to act for the greater good. So it's pretty much just saying what I said earlier. Okay. When we experience we experience positive psychological growth from difficult times. Okay. Difficult situations can bring a better awareness of you've had relationships get better because difficulties brought out the stuff that was buried underneath the surface, right? And so it erupted in this whole difficult situation. And then that person was able to step back and say, you know what? This is what was not working. And so it allows you to begin to have better relationships. It begins to allow you to look at the bigger picture. Okay. Sometimes difficult situations will push you to the next level. Okay. You've been comfortable at this level. And so some difficulty came. And then it made you say, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. I don't have another choice. I got to go back to school. And then you go back to school and then doors begin to open. You get better opportunities for careers, and things begin to look better. So, difficulties, depending on how we choose to look at them, okay? How do we manage difficult situations? That's what we're talking about. Well, being able to look at it from a different perspective. Easier said than done. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to do. I've had my fair share of difficult situations as well, but it's also propelled me to be able to step out and do something I've not done before. Not allowing fear to hold me back. Sometimes being able to do it in fear, being able to do it fearful. Not because I have all the answers, not because I have all the pieces, but because I've used these tools. I've connected with people. I've sought out my spiritual leadership and for guidance. And so you cannot do this journey alone, guys, right? You don't have to. All right. So, last part, we're coming down to the end. Last few tips is I want to encourage you to prioritize self care. Okay. Think about your physical, your mental and emotional, your social, your lifestyle, being creative, and then your spiritual side. All of those things are important to prioritizing self care. If you don't take care of yourself, then you're no good for anybody else. Okay. You're no good for anybody. All right. So that's a part of your whole mental health. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for this time and this opportunity to come to you. Hopefully, something was said and shared that will benefit you. Thank you so much. I'm going to give it back into the hands of Pastor McCowan.
All right. After difficulties, we're grateful that we were able to complete the task of evaluating our personal health and dealing with our mental health. If you're not mentally well, you cannot be physically or emotionally well. And so we want to make sure that we address these issues so that we can be um, walk in purpose. We can walk according to the will of God that He has for our lives, and we can fulfill the tasks that have been set before us as individuals in a big, big world. Again, I am Eugene McCowan. And at WeServe, our mission is to serve families, meet need, and build community. And we hope and pray that you are empowered and encouraged by this workshop. It's currently on YouTube. We'll move it over to Facebook shortly. But tune in every first and second Saturday of the month for our workshops. We go over employment readiness. We have financial literacy workshops, which will be facilitated next week on our YouTube and our Facebook Live channels. So tune in and be encouraged and be empowered so that we all can overcome. And we want to make sure that it's not just a couple of us, but our whole family, our whole community, the whole entire nation, all those that we can reach will be more than just conquerors in Christ Jesus. Thank you for joining us. We pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. God bless you. Bye-bye.